Hey guys, I just wanted to kind of make this video, and you'll have to bear with me. This is the first video I've made in about a year since the argument with my neighbor, and you'll have to forgive the lighting because I don't have any other lighting but this. I wanted to do a couple things. One, mostly to say hi to all my new subscribers. Pretty much all you guys just kind of flooded in out of nowhere, to be completely honest. Just one day everybody started viewing my video and started commenting, subscribing, and I appreciate all of it, and I thank all of you who have subscribed. So I guess the first thing is, I'm Dan. That is my actual first name. My channel is KillerQuack. KillerQuack's been my handle for ever since Halo 1 days. I ride motorcycles, as you can probably tell. I still have the same motorcycle, and I'll go kind of over that in the questions and stuff like that. So I guess we'll just kind of dive right into that. I know there's been a lot of, probably the biggest thing that I've seen on the comments is that is not a stock exhaust, or if it is a stock exhaust, it should pass sound emissions and all that. And to be honest, it's not a stock exhaust, as most people knew. At that time, it was a GP straight pipe with a baffle. And here in the state of Idaho, you can modify your exhaust to any means you feel necessary, as long as the exhaust has a baffle. The baffle in the exhaust is the only thing that makes it legal, in which case I knew I wasn't worried about any sort of police encounter or anything like that, because I had already got it cleared with the city. I think the only police that have kind of given me a fuss about it is Idaho State Patrol, but they're just doing their job, and et cetera, et cetera. Probably the next one is, who is the black bike? A lot of people thought that I've called the police on a black bike, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against calling the police if deemed necessary. I'm not usually one to go to the police for anything, and especially not for a loud motorcycle. But the black bike was a myth. It wasn't a real thing. He didn't exist. The funny story now is, since this has occurred, this last year, my bike was actually backed into my parking lot, which damaged pretty much all of the fairings on it, which led me to either repair the bike back to the way it was or do it the way I wanted. So I ended up getting the insurance money back, and I used that money to buy a new body for, I guess none of you would know this, but the bike's name is Mary, to buy Mary a new fairing kit. Well, she is now black with gold ninja lettering. So I kind of kicked myself in the butt with that one, because every time I ride by the same guy's house, he definitely gives me the "I'm gonna stab you when you not looking" kind of stare every time I go by his house. Granted, since then I have reinstalled the catalytic converter on my motorcycle to kind of numb it down a little bit, because he wasn't 100% wrong. My bike was stupidly loud, and the video doesn't do it any sort of justice, because it was basically straight pipe with a little resonating baffle. Like, it was obnoxiously loud. But I did not lie about when it happened, because in the video I mentioned that I was doing an experiment to try to get through my neighborhood without being too loud, which was long periods of silence with very brief instances of loud, to try to get through the neighborhood as quiet as possible for as long as possible. And it was during that experiment that I realized that I did actually do that in front of his house, which I understand why he was pissed, but I think he went about it in the wrong way. Because I know the one thing that he said that kind of got on my nerves is, it was that 1 out of 100 people would hear my bike before they saw it and would prevent an accident. If that was the actual statistics, I would be perfectly fine with those odds, because that's one less accident that could have occurred. However, I do believe it is quite a bit larger than that. I believe loud pipes save lives. That is definitely what I've been raised to know, and whenever I hear a motorcycle, I mean, unless you are absolutely deaf, you hear a motorcycle, you know for a fact that he's around you. The louder your bike is, the more you are to know where he is, and you're going to look for him. I mean, it's probably not even close, and I haven't done any sort of research to verify this, but I believe, say 1 in 25 accidents involving a bike with a stock exhaust probably could have been prevented if he didn't have a stock exhaust. I believe that if the motorcycle is loud, people are going to notice it. I cannot count the amount of times, especially on intersections near freeways and stuff like that, there is like, I have gone to the intersection, the car starts to pull out, and I rev the piss out of it, and they slam on their brakes immediately. I cannot count the amount of times that has happened, and I am definitely a firm believer that loud bikes save lives. Right now I'm actually running to Walmart to get me some dinner. The main thing is, I know a lot of people are kind of talking shit about him and how he's like the biggest pile of shit and stuff like that. Honestly, I think he wasn't in the wrong. He just went about it a weird way. I think there could have been a better way to go about it, because there was definitely some conflict between me and him at that point, and a lot of people were also noticing, like, I was agreeing with him with the exhaust, and then he turned around and said it was too loud, and I was like, I in my head I was like, yes, my bike is too loud, I'm gonna get it fixed, calm down. But the way he was talking to me, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna fight this. So I'm gonna be honest, guys. Yes, my bike was extremely loud, and it was obnoxiously loud, so I knew where he was coming from. But the second he offered to buy me a new exhaust, I saw it as an opportunity, and I was like, sweet, I thought he was actually gonna do it. But as let's see, yeah, by a 9Manny99 changes the subject so he doesn't have to adhere to the paying for the new muffler. Yeah, I did notice that he changed, like, the second I was like, yeah, sure, let's go do it. I'll take you with me. Let's go get this done. Why not? Because I wasn't about to go pay my money to go get the exhaust done, because A, I can't afford it. B, I know for a fact if I go get that done and send him a receipt, I ain't going to see a dime from him. Since then, I have been courteous to him. I haven't revved past his house at all. Like I said, I don't like making enemies in my neighborhood, mainly because if I make enemies in my neighborhood, that's where I live. It's not something like, if it was at like a buddy's house that I go to once every 4 months, I really wouldn't care. But where it's, I mean, I am there every single day. I have to live with these people around me. And if I make more enemies than friends, I mean, I'm not going to have a very pleasant time living there. Which is why I try to make allies of every single neighbor I have. And if I can make somebody happy, I will. It was just in this case, the way he came about it, I did not like it one bit. Another one was from Thrasher234. If he can hear from his house, then a person could clearly hear from a car. And that is true. Like I said, loud pipes save lives, in my opinion. You can disagree with me all you want, but I definitely believe that. Another thing that I saw in the comments, he's probably just pissed at you since it's August and you still have Christmas lights up. Yep, probably. You'll be pleased to know I have taken my Christmas lights down since then. But the main reason why I haven't taken the Christmas lights down there, I just didn't have time. And honestly, you couldn't really notice them unless you're up to the house, so I just didn't see the need to take them down. And then they ended up fading anyway, so I just threw them away. But yeah, I'm that guy. There was another one. A lot of people were saying, why don't you tell him that you're going to buy a Harley? The funny thing is, he actually owns a Harley. And I'm not saying it as in all Harley guys are against bullet bikes, because I'm not going to lie, there is tension between Harley rider or cruiser riders in general and bullet bike riders. Honestly, I respect anything on two wheels. I mean, if anything from a moped up to a ZX14 or a Harley Davidson Electric Glide or any sort of like two-wheeled vehicle, or even some trikes, everybody is kind of taking a step out of their comfort zone. And like right now, I'm sitting in a four-wheeled vehicle. I'm surrounded by protection. I'm in a cage. But a motorcycle, you have no cage. You're just out there. Harleys are the same way. Mopeds are the same way. In fact, mopeds are, in my opinion, more dangerous than bullet bikes because of how they're oriented. I've never ridden a moped. I don't know how they control. I don't know how they react. But just from the way it looks like they sit on it, I don't see it reacting very well as far as handling. So I see trying to dodge out of a situation where you're going to crash or you're going to have an incident, then I can see an issue. And yes, I'm doing all of this in Walmart's parking lot right now. And see, this was another thing. There's been a lot of comments on here I would have passed by and revved the piss out of his house, like, oh yeah, I'll do that, go by there next day and just limit it. If I do that, not only am I making an enemy of him, I am making an enemy of every single neighbor around him. I don't live in a neighborhood where my house is separated by a mile between houses. I literally am door to door to my neighbors. So if I make an enemy, now granted, I know there's one person over there that wouldn't care because he's a young kid who has a motorcycle as well. That's a different story. But everybody else would be like, it would just make living there just really hard. And one in reply in particular that says it so well is by John Jacob. He responded, so now you piss off the rest of your neighborhood trying to get back at one, then the ones that never complained will start to make your life hell. And then this one that's saying, I always carry when I ride, plus you would have to catch me first. I also carry when I ride. Doesn't necessarily mean, especially for something like that, if they like approach me like, hey, your bike's too loud, you need to dumb it down, I'm not going to pull my gun on them or anything. Yes, I know, take my Christmas lights down. You definitely don't want to make enemies of your neighbors is pretty much the general of the story. And I haven't had any sort of confrontation with him since this day. I'm sure eventually I'll have an issue with him again, but as it sits now, there's no sort of issue. Me and him haven't had any sort of conflict. I've even waved to him a couple times when I'm on my motorcycle passing, and he just kind of glares at me. I don't think he's ever waved back. I got my lasagna. So I got most of the questions out of the way. I'm sure there's more that I forgot or will edit in eventually or make another update video. If you guys have any other questions about the video, feel free to ask. I would prefer on this one, mainly because if you question on the original video, I might not see it because it might flood into the rest of the comments that are there. I know a lot of the questions I replied to actually on the video itself. So if you guys do have any more questions, feel free to ask me here. A lot of people were saying that I need to start vlogging, specifically moto vlogging more. The only problem I have with that currently is I don't have a microphone set up for this camera yet. I noticed that the adapter isn't expensive at all, considering it's a GoPro Hero 4 Black, which is not as expensive as the 5, thank goodness. But the microphone itself, at least the one I want, is rather expensive. I do plan on motovlogging more. I might even do in-car vlogging, which is a little easier since I don't need a microphone set up or anything. But only time will tell. I do plan on becoming more active on YouTube. I've always wanted to kind of create videos for YouTube and kind of grow and communicate with people and see where it goes. And again, I'm sorry about the lighting. I know, like, this isn't the best lighting situation, but it's 6:30 right now in the middle of winter, and the sun is long gone, and these windows do not make it easy to gather light inside of this vehicle. We make do with what we have, I guess. So I thank everybody for watching. If you made it to the end here, I greatly appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more vlogs. Other than that, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you again for everybody who has subscribed, everyone who has liked, and hope to see you guys in the future, and I hope the future looks bright. Y'all have a good day.